Hello everyone! Welcome to Messy Hearts, where we help people who seek advice for their troubled relationships and lives. Listen carefully and share your experience down in the comments below to help those who seek it. We hope you enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let's head on to the first story. Story 1. I found out my husband has been telling his co-workers that I'm his sister. What do I do? Please help. My husband, I'll call him Josh, and I have been together for 6 years, married for 4, and we don't have kids. We have a really healthy and communicative relationship. We're both pretty easygoing and I really love him. He started working at a large accounting firm about 3 years ago, and from what he tells me, he loves it there. He's made a lot of friends through his job and he goes out with them for drinks and social events quite often, and I've been totally okay with that. I'm quite introverted, so I've never been interested in meeting his colleagues or work friends, nor have I asked to. I've got my own circle of friends and I'm fine with us having separate friend groups. Through what happened yesterday, it only just occurred to me that he has never actually asked me if I'd like to meet any of them or go to one of his work events. I guess that's important context. Anyway, I'll start with what happened a few months ago that I had brushed off until now. I was at a bar with some friends for a couple of Friday after work drinks, and a guy approached me. He was there with some friends too. He looked slightly familiar, but I hadn't met him before. He seemed friendly enough and he asked me, "My name, right?" I think I must have just given him a confused look because he followed up with, "I'm Jake, I work with Josh." I realized that I recognized him from some photos on my husband's phone. I don't use social media except for a private Instagram, so I'm not sure if he posted the photos anywhere, but we've got a very trusting relationship, so I look in his photos sometimes. Don't hate me. This is where it gets a bit embarrassing. I'm a bit socially awkward, and so I struggled to end the conversation, but he just kept talking at me. I guess he was already a couple of beers deep. But while he was talking, he said something like, "It's great that you guys are still so close. I haven't talked to my brother in ages." The time I was like, huh? But I just assumed he was drunk and not making sense, so I ignored it. He started to get a little flirty, so I turned to my friends and we left shortly after that. I didn't say anything to them about it, and it didn't seem like a big deal to me. I also decided not to tell my husband that I had met his co-worker Jake. Not to hide it, but because I figured the guy wouldn't even remember talking to me, and I didn't want to make it awkward for Josh at work by telling him his colleague tried to hit on me. I just thought no harm, no foul. But yesterday morning I was out walking our dog, Monty. He's a cross between a few breeds and has very unique markings. This matters, I promise, and was on my way to my regular cafe, which is in town. I was waiting in line to order, and the guy in front was an older man. He got his coffee and turned around, but stopped and looked at my dog and goes, "Hello, Monty." Monty was super excited to see him apparently, and so I guess that the guy was another colleague of Josh's because Josh brings the dog to the office a couple of times a week. I thought it was sweet, to be honest, so I smiled at him and said hi. He introduced himself, I guessed correctly that he was a colleague, but then he said something like, "Aren't you a good sister, walking his dog for him?" I was so confused that I didn't even know how to react at first, so I stumbled on my words and just said, "It's my dog." I regret it, but I genuinely couldn't bring myself to correct him and say that I'm Josh's wife and not his sister. It was just too awkward, and I just wanted to leave because I think was suddenly dawning on me what might have been going on. He asked me something about sharing a dog, but I was able to escape the conversation by being next in line to order my coffee, and he left. I seriously don't know what to do because what the fuck? Do I even ask my husband about this? Part of me is just assuming or hoping that it's a mistake, that he doesn't talk about me much at work and they assume we are related because we both have brown hair. But the thought that he has been telling his co-workers that I'm his sister, and evidently they have seen what I look like, so they must have seen photos, makes my stomach churn. I don't even know how I would broach the subject with him. I need some help. What would you guys do in this situation? I have only told one friend what happened because it's so weird and embarrassing, and she has jumped straight to time to plot his downfall, because she's my ride or die, love her, but I don't want to immediately assume the worst or ruin my marriage over something that could be nothing. I'm sorry for the long and rambly post, but I would really appreciate any and all advice. What piece of advice would you give to OP? Let us know down in the comments and let's move on to our next story. Story 2. My best friend kissed my husband and it's destroying me. How do I proceed? I, 28F, have been with my husband, 27M, for 6 years, married for 4 years, and we have 2 kids, 3F, almost 1F. Everything in our relationship is perfect for us. He's the best husband and father to our kids that I could have asked for. I am absolutely in love with him, and his actions and words have always shown me that he feels the same way. There's no better feeling than going to sleep in his arms every night. Last weekend, my husband and I had some friends over and we were having a barbecue. We were all outside in the backyard, surrounding my husband who was on the grill. As the food got closer to being ready to eat, we all started sitting at our backyard table. Once the food was all ready and at the table, my husband went inside to use the washroom and get another case of beer. I didn't realize that my best friend, 28F, had followed him. When he was coming back out, my best friend hid behind the wall separating our kitchen and living room and surprised him by pulling him and forcing a kiss. My husband immediately pushed her back and yelled WTF. She immediately started crying and ran out of the house and left. My husband came back into the backyard and asked to speak to me privately and immediately told me what had just happened. I was shocked and told him that it would be okay and that we could talk after everyone else left. I managed to put on appearances for the next couple of hours, but I was mentally distraught. After everyone left, my husband sat me down and told me what happened and showed me the footage from our living room camera. It was exactly as my husband has described it. My best friend of 10 years, the person who I treated as my literal sister, forcibly kissed my husband. After the 3rd date with my husband, she was the one I told that I was going to marry him. She knows how much I love him and how strong our relationship is, and still she chose to try to come in the middle. For fuck's sake, our 3-year-old calls her Ani. My best friend tried showing up the next day just to talk, and my husband had to hold me back from beating the shit out of her, and he kicked her out and told her to not come back. It's been almost a week now and I'm nowhere close to moving on. I don't blame my husband one bit. He's completely innocent in this, and if anything, he's the victim. I've been lying down on my husband's chest and just crying every day and night. I'm so angry and frustrated and don't know what to do. My husband has been amazing, and like always, he just gets it and understands how I'm feeling. He brought me flowers almost every day and cooked my favorite meals multiple times in the last few days. I love and appreciate him all the more for it. I just don't know how I'm going to move on and trust any of my friends again after this. Do you have any advice on this one? Comment down below and let's move on into the 3rd story. Story 3. Told my wife that she couldn't do it without me. Turns out she can. I made one stupid selfish comment to my wife a week or so ago, and now my life is in disarray. My wife is in some crisis. Her work is closed and she's being paid, but she's home with our kids now, including one 3-year-old. She gets breaks on Monday and Friday with childcare. We went into having kids knowing she wanted to be a working mother. So this has been an adjustment, to say the least. On to the OG fight. She spent a long day with our kids and the neighboring kids, and when I came upstairs from work and she asked for a break, I didn't respond well. I made excuses and didn't offer help, and for the first time in years my wife lost her temper and cursed at me. Like an idiot, I dug in and thought I was right. I admit we both said some unkind things. But after Reddit humbled me and she made me sit down and write a list of things I did for the family that day and compared it with her longer list, I apologized. She accepted, and I figured things would go back to normal. They haven't. My wife used to include me in parenting our kids. I did dance pickup most weeks and bedtime was split. I gave baths, made dinner, all the stuff. Since our fight, my wife hasn't asked me for any help with the kids. The first morning I woke up on what was supposed to be my morning with the kids, I figured she was just being nice or trying to prove a point, but it keeps happening. She didn't even send them down to say good night last night. Normally my wife does this silly game where she sends my son to ask me to read 5 books, and then we would negotiate down to 1 or 2 and race upstairs. Last night I heard her racing him and came up to find her doing bedtime yet again. The kids haven't even noticed. It's like she's replacing me. When we were fighting, I said something really dumb that's living inside me and festering. My wife was being nasty and said, "You wouldn't see the kids a quarter as much as you do if I didn't arrange it, and I'm done managing you." I defended myself, I'm not an absent parent, and said something along the lines of, "I'd like to see how long you can manage without me." Consider my foot officially in my mouth. She started running again. She's cooking really healthy and often. Every night I come home to my perfectly happy stepford wife, doing it all without me, and I feel empty inside. How do I fix this? I don't even know where to begin. At this point, I want to beg her to go back to how things were. This wasn't what we agreed on. Thank you for watching. All advice is welcomed and will help these people to resolve the things that trouble them. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think. And never forget that your smile is your best feature. Wear it proudly.